Welcome to Daily Dreamer, the podcast that provides practical tips and insights to help you reach your biggest dreams. Tune in for daily doses of motivation, inspiration, and actionable advice to turn your aspirations into reality. Whether you're looking to find clarity, boost your confidence, or stay on track with your goals, Daily Dreamer is here to guide you every step of the way.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a look at your brain health. Specifically, we're going to unpack that interview you sent over with neuroscientist Joanna Podgórska, who wrote, "And that's how the brain works." Let's see what practical tips we can pull out to help you feel your best.
I think you'll find her approach quite refreshing. She really emphasizes the importance of building a solid foundation for well-being before even thinking about supplements.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in the hype of quick fixes, right? Like, can a pill really replace good sleep, a healthy diet, and exercise?
Exactly. Podgórska really challenges that quick fix mentality. She points out that these fundamental pillars, sleep, diet, movement, they all work together synergistically.
I love that she uses the analogy of building a house. You can't just slap on a fancy roof without a solid foundation.
Precisely. And when it comes to diet, she's a huge proponent of the Mediterranean approach. But with some interesting tweaks, she even mentions the Okinawan and Maine diets, which are variations that might be especially relevant to you, since you mentioned wanting to protect against cognitive decline.
Oh, that's right. I completely forgot I mentioned that. What makes those diets so special for brain health?
Well, the Maine diet, for example, is specifically designed to reduce the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia. It emphasizes leafy greens, berries, nuts, and fish, all of which are packed with antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds that are crucial for brain health.
So it's not just about what you eat, but how it impacts those intricate processes in your brain.
Fascinating. And speaking of keeping our brains sharp, she's a big advocate for movement. But I found it super relatable that she even admitted to struggling with overtraining in the past. Even the experts have to learn balance the hard way sometimes.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is her emphasis on spontaneous movement. It's not always about hitting the gym. It's those little things you do throughout the day that can make a difference. You mentioned having a desk job.
Okay.
Could you incorporate more walking meetings or take the stairs instead of the elevator? Those are great ideas. See, even just talking about this is already making me think about how I can move more. Okay, so we've got the foundation covered. Sleep, good food, movement. Now, let's get to the part you've been waiting for, the supplements.
Yes, but remember, Podgórska stresses that supplements should complement a healthy lifestyle, not replace it.
She even says to always get blood work done first to understand your individual needs before even considering supplements. I love that she takes such an evidence-based approach. So let's dive into her recommendations. She talks about B vitamins, vitamin D3, omega-3s, magnesium, and zinc. What makes these the A-team for brain power?
Well, let's start with the B vitamins, this holy trinity, B6, B9, and B12, is crucial for neurotransmitter production, which basically means they help those brain messengers communicate effectively. She even highlighted their importance during pregnancy for healthy fetal brain development.
That's something to keep in mind for the future. Right. Okay, so B vitamins are like the communication network of the brain. What about vitamin D3? I know it's important for bone health, but how does it impact the brain?
It plays a crucial role in mood regulation and cognitive function. Remember how you mentioned struggling with the winter blues? Well, Podgórska actually points out a link between vitamin D3 deficiency and seasonal affective disorder. So that's something to consider.
That's really interesting. I'll have to look into that. Next up, we've got omega-3s. I know they're good for the brain, but she gets into the specifics, talking about the difference between EPA and DHA.
Right, and this is where it gets really interesting for you, especially since you're curious about managing depression naturally. Podgórska suggests that getting enough EPA, in particular, might be beneficial for folks dealing with depression, even alongside medication.
Wait, really? What's the science behind that?
Both EPA and DHA are omega-3 fatty acids, but they have different functions. While DHA is important for brain structure, EPA seems to have a more direct impact on mood regulation and reducing inflammation, which is often linked to depression. Some studies even suggest that EPA might boost the effectiveness of antidepressants, though more research is definitely needed.
Wow. That's super promising. I'm adding EPA to my research list. Let's talk about magnesium. It's often touted as a calming mineral, but she mentioned it can actually have the opposite effect on some people. What's that about?
It's true. Magnesium is involved in neurotransmitter production and can be calming, but individual responses can vary. Some people might find it gives them a little energy boost, especially depending on the type of magnesium they take. Again, it highlights how important it is to listen to your body and maybe even experiment a little to find what works best for you.
That's a good reminder. And finally, we have zinc. You're always learning new things, so you'll appreciate this one. Podgórska says it's vital for cognitive function, neuroplasticity, and even immunity. It's like the multitasker of brain health.
Exactly. Zinc is essential for learning and memory, and it even helps protect brain cells from damage. So whether you get it through diet or supplements, zinc is definitely your brain's best friend. It really is. And what's fascinating is that she doesn't stop at just the basic supplements. She also touches on adaptogens and nootropics, which have gotten a lot of attention recently.
Oh yeah, I've heard those terms thrown around. She mentions things like ashwagandha, rhodiola, and lion's mane. What's the deal with those?
They're often marketed as brain boosters, and there's some promising research. But Podgórska wisely cautions that we need more robust data before making any definitive claims.
So it's kind of like the Wild West of supplements, with lots of potential, but also a need for more scientific rigor. What specifically has caught your eye about these adaptogens and nootropics?
Well, take ashwagandha, for example.
Oh, right.
It's been used in Ayurvedic medicine for centuries to reduce stress and anxiety, and some preliminary studies suggest it might actually have a positive impact on cognitive function as well.
Wow. That's fascinating. It's like ancient wisdom meeting modern science. And what about rhodiola and lion's mane?
Rhodiola is believed to help the body adapt to stress, which could be incredibly helpful in our fast-paced world. And lion's mane is thought to support nerve growth and cognitive function, which is intriguing for anyone looking to keep their brain sharp.
So, while we need more research, there's definitely a lot of exciting potential in this area. I'm definitely adding these to my list to explore further. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about how Podgórska herself manages her well-being. She talks about tuning into her baseline and noticing subtle signs of stress, even when her blood work looks fine. What does she mean by that?
She emphasizes paying attention to those often overlooked signs, like persistent fatigue, increased irritability, and even a lack of enjoyment in things you usually love, which is called anhedonia. These can be early indicators that your stress levels are creeping up, even if they haven't shown up in blood tests yet.
That's so important. It's like she's saying we need to be detectives of our own well-being, paying attention to those whispers before they become shouts. What are some other clues we might notice?
It can be different for everyone, but common signs include changes in sleep patterns, appetite shifts, digestive issues, or even just feeling more mentally foggy than usual. It's about cultivating that awareness of your own internal landscape.
This reminds me of something you mentioned about having trouble winding down after work. Could some of these subtle signs be at play there?
It's definitely possible. The key is to become aware of those patterns and then experiment with different strategies to see what helps bring you back into balance. And speaking of balance, Podgórska's personal transformation is quite inspiring. She openly talks about her previous go-go-go lifestyle and how burnout forced her to reevaluate her approach.
Yes. And now she embraces practices like meditation, mindfulness, and even Qigong. It's amazing how she's found this sense of calm amidst the chaos.
It's a testament to the power of slowing down. She even challenges the idea that more is always better, suggesting that slowing down can actually enhance mental clarity and creativity.
It's almost counterintuitive.
Really?
But I can totally see how taking that time to disconnect and recharge could lead to breakthroughs.
Exactly. And it's not just about sitting meditation. She's also a fan of Qigong, which you mentioned you're curious about.
Oh, yes. I've heard it described as moving meditation, but I'm not really sure what that means.
It's a beautiful practice that combines slow, flowing movements with deep breathing and focused attention. It's almost like a dance between your mind and body.
That sounds amazing. I'm definitely going to have to look into that. It's inspiring to see how Podgórska has woven these different practices into her life. And this leads us to another fascinating aspect of her work, her exploration of deeper philosophical questions. She talks about karma, interconnectedness, and the Buddhist concept of anatta, which is often translated as non-self. Those are some pretty heady topics.
It's where her scientific background meets her personal exploration of spirituality. She's not afraid to delve into those big questions about the nature of reality and our place in the universe. And what's fascinating is how she connects these concepts back to well-being.
Okay, let's break it down. How does she explain karma? I think a lot of people misunderstand it as some kind of cosmic punishment reward system.
She frames it more as a principle of cause and effect. She emphasizes that our actions have consequences, not just for ourselves, but for others as well. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all things and understanding that our choices ripple outward.
I like that. It shifts the focus from fear of retribution to a more mindful approach to our actions. And what about interconnectedness? What does that mean in the context of her work?
She speaks about a sense of unity, not just between individuals, but with all of nature. It's recognizing that we're part of something much larger than ourselves.
It's a humbling thought.
Right?
And it challenges that individualistic mindset that's so prevalent in our culture. Okay, now for the big one. Anattata or non-self. That one always trips me up. How does she approach this concept?
It can be a mind-bending idea, but she explains it beautifully, essentially.
Yeah.
She says that the idea of a fixed, unchanging self is an illusion. We're constantly changing and evolving, shaped by our experiences and interactions. It's almost like we're a flowing river, not a stagnant pond.
That's such a great analogy. It makes the concept much easier to grasp. So we've got karma, interconnectedness, and non-self. It's a lot to unpack. What does this all mean for the listener? How can we integrate these ideas into our own lives?
It's an invitation to expand our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Perhaps it's about cultivating more mindfulness in our daily lives and paying attention to the impact of our actions, or simply being more present in our interactions.
I love that. It's about bringing these seemingly abstract concepts into the realm of the practical.
Yeah.
And, all this talk about interconnectedness and non-self reminds me of something else Podgórska mentioned, her interest in consciousness and the mind-body connection.
Yes. She hints at how these areas are still shrouded in mystery, even for neuroscientists. And this is where her work gets really exciting, especially given your interest in exploring the frontiers of human understanding.
Absolutely. It's like she's acknowledging that there's so much we still don't know, and that's okay, in fact.
Yeah.
It's that sense of wonder that fuels scientific exploration.
Precisely. It's about embracing both the known and the unknown, recognizing that the journey of discovery is just as important as the destination.
It really is. And speaking of journeys of discovery, this deep dive has been quite a ride. We've gone from the fundamentals of brain health to exploring these fascinating supplements, and now we're venturing into the realm of philosophy and even spirituality. What stands out to you as the biggest takeaway so far?
For me,
Right.
it's Podgórska's emphasis on personal transformation. She doesn't just talk about these concepts, she embodies them. Her own journey from burnout to embracing mindfulness and these deeper philosophical ideas is incredibly inspiring.
I agree. It makes her advice feel so much more authentic and relatable, and it ties into something else she's passionate about, her work in Alzheimer's research. She really wants to make a difference in that field, but she also acknowledges that there's still so much we don't understand about the brain and consciousness. It makes me wonder, how do we reconcile that pursuit of scientific knowledge with the inherent mystery of the human experience?
That's such a profound question. Reminds me of something you mentioned earlier about feeling drawn to Eastern philosophy. There's often this sense of embracing paradox, of holding seemingly opposing ideas in tension.
You're right. Like, we can strive to understand the brain on a scientific level, but also acknowledge that there might be aspects of consciousness that defy measurement or explanation. It's about being comfortable with not knowing everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe it's in that space of not knowing, of embracing the mystery, that we open ourselves up to new possibilities and deeper levels of understanding.
This entire deep dive has really pushed me to think differently about brain health and well-being. It's not just about supplements and quick fixes. It's about cultivating a mindful approach to life, nurturing those connections between our physical, mental, and even spiritual well-being. And as you mentioned, Podgórska seems to embody that holistic approach beautifully.
Absolutely. She integrates science, personal experience, and philosophical inquiry in a way that feels both grounded and expansive.
Well said, and I think that's a powerful message for all of us. We can draw from different sources of knowledge and wisdom, weaving together a tapestry of understanding that's uniquely our own.
It's about recognizing that the journey of self-discovery and exploration is ongoing. There's always more to learn, more to experience, and more to understand.
I love that. So, to our incredible listener, we encourage you to continue this exploration. What resonated with you most from our deep dive into Podgórska's work? What sparks your curiosity? What questions are you left pondering?
Remember, there's no one right answer. This is about your personal journey of discovery. We've just provided a few signposts along the way.
We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights and inspiration to take charge of your brain health and well-being. And who knows, maybe some of those deeper philosophical questions will lead you to even more fascinating discoveries. Until then, stay curious, keep exploring, and take good care of your incredible brain.